What is motivation? I know some of you wrote to me over the weekend saying you're not motivated. You can't get the next topic in your head. I'm like, oh, I know. I remember that in English classes when I was younger, knowing all the essays. And, I'd say, well, what are we going to write about? And the teacher would say, it's up to you. And I would just sit there, oh, please just tell me. But you have ideas. You definitely do. I heard it in your self-introductions. Introducing yourself was a great way of starting to think about what do you care about? What do you know about? So you have it, and you're building a portfolio of presentations. The nice part about this class is there is a takeaway. It's a souvenir. You'll have your 6 videos, your self-introduction, in the news, informative, persuasion, brief opinion or personal experience, and final word or free choice. That's a lot. That's a big collection. If you had that in essay form, it would be a big stack of papers that are yours, and you should keep them in a sacred place in case you ever need to refer to them for another project you're working on because you've done this research to begin with, or even if you had to prove your oral communication skills. Sometimes there's certain jobs we have that we want to get to. They want you to speak, and you say, I have proof. Very rarely do I ever hear a student talk about that, but every so often a student will say they used one of their videos that came out of COM 104 in their college application for transfer because they were speaking about something that was so profound and meaningful to them. And they said, let me just share with an assignment I did back in my freshman year at Bristol Community College. Right now, you can see I'm in a parking lot. I am. This is Tuesday morning, and I meant to tell you this from the very beginning of the semester, that every Tuesday and Thursday, I teach face-to-face the Taunton campus. I'm there from 12:30 to 2 o'clock. And in upstairs in 203. If anyone ever wanted to come by before, after, and meet me, you can. I know that's very random time, but I very rarely have time in my week to say that's where I'm at, because I do go between the Taunton campus and the Fall River campus for meetings, for classes. I am not here as much as I used to be because I'm now retired and working part-time, but I'm actively engaged in Bristol Community College and very much interested in my students. So motivation, it's a fickle thing, isn't it? Sometimes when I am stuck for a topic idea, I'll write down or brainstorm a group of them I could possibly use. And then I say, well, this one I know most about. This one I have a feeling for. This one I have an emotional connection. I might as well just try that one and see how it goes. You might end up writing or videoing 3 or 4 presentations before you decide. This class does not have a lot of high academic demands, but you can put a lot of time into this class with creating your own presentations and then hopefully watching, being inspired by your classmates. It's great in the discussion boards when you go back and forth, and sometimes you'll find a person that you sort of agree with or maybe totally disagree with, which is also equally intriguing, and you engage in conversation, or you look at what they say every week, what their reaction is, what their takeaway is from the different discussion boards. But when you see them right now, like on video, it is so cool because you really get to see them and you're an inch closer to knowing them as a human being. This is not as good as face-to-face, but sometimes it's better. Sometimes. I especially think that way on the discussion boards. Students open up a lot more in the privacy of their own room, writing out their thoughts, than they do in the classroom. And I also find that the presentations really do become more meaningful on the video. In the class, sometimes it's an assignment just to get through it. And you get overwhelmed by your emotions just being there in the moment. Video is different. It has its challenges, but there can be a great learning experience. Anyway, I know I had 3 people write to me. It's all it takes for me to do a video about feeling motivated. Not so much about doing the assignment, but picking a topic. And I said, I know. And I always ask someone else. When I do presentations, and I do them a lot for women's groups, and I will tell them about me. They ask me to speak for a reason. I'm a teacher, been teaching a long time. I teach communication classes, and sometimes they'll say, will you do a presentation on intercultural communication? Will you do a presentation on interpersonal? Or will you just do whatever you want? I'm like, whatever I want. So I always ask somebody else. I always say, I have an opportunity to speak. What do you think I should talk about? When I recently did a short little presentation at last year's graduation, I got open field. I had about 9 speeches. I had them like, I was like, my brain was going to town. And then finally, when I had to pick one, I brought all 9 of them in on outline form to my class at the time, my face-to-face, and said, my friends, if you could just look through this and which one do you think? It was very helpful. And I did go with the one that students selected, which was a good choice. It's not easy. It's part of it, though. It is. We do have a textbook when you get to informative presentations, right? You know that is coming up for some of you, and others it's another week away or 2 weeks away, chapter 16. And it's not a big chapter, but we'll talk about people, places, objects, concepts, a little bit more in depth than my handout. The handouts that I have for every presentation, from the in the news to informative, persuasive, and then personal experience, brief opinion, are all condensed from the textbook. So when I read the chapters, I made it down into one sheet, make it a little easier. Also refreshing your mind when you go to do your presentation. But some of you have done speeches like this in the written form in your English classes. I know I'm talking on and on. I got to get into class. But anyway, I hope you're having a good fall. Today for me is October 1st. When you're watching this, I have no idea. But we're marching through the semester, and I'm so glad we're there as a cohort, as together. We have an online community, which is very rich and very important, and it is there to support you and to motivate you. So have a wonderful, wonderful week.